broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Emily here from the Improvement Service, and today I'm also joined by my colleague Johanna.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you very much for joining today's webinar. We've got Terry Hogg from Scottish Enterprise talking about the Can Do Innovation Fund. So just before I pass you over to Terry, throughout the webinar you can ask questions in the grey box on your screen, and then at the end Johanna and I will pick up the questions. So thank you very much. Terry, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Emily, and thanks everyone for giving us the time and attending today. Really, I'm just going to chat you through a few slides to describe the Can Do Innovation Challenge Fund, really just its key features, a bit of background, a bit of context to help you try and identify where it might meet your needs, touch on how the process works, and really the criteria that we have installed in the fund itself. So sorry, I'm pausing a wee bit. Just wee pop-ups appeared on my screen, which I'm just trying to move out. Okay. Yeah. So in terms of the overall presentation, so the Can Do Innovation Challenge Fund, it's a new national innovation fund which is aimed at supporting you, the public sector, to engage with industry to solve your innovation challenges, your key problems, your key service delivery, policy delivery challenge, and the broad context that's what's termed open innovation. So it's supporting open innovation in the public sector. I'm just going to step through some of the key features of the fund. Possibly, if I can move my slides, as just bear with me, folks. Apologies. So we have a okay. Yeah, there we go. Apologies for that. Yeah, so in terms of the key features of the fund, it's a £9.2 million national fund, which supports the public sector to address its innovation challenges, and that's really, as I say, where you have issues where you need to optimise the way you deliver your current services and policies, and you've not been able to find an existing solution out in the marketplace that meets your requirements. From a procurement perspective, the fund's set up to try and allow you to look to industry to come up with new ideas, and actually looks to procure innovative solutions from industry. And that's where the fund's a little bit different from the normal way, certainly in terms of the enterprise agencies that we support companies. So it's nothing to do with grant funding. What we're looking to do is to work with you, the public sector, identify your innovation challenge, your need for a new technology solution, and once we take that to the marketplace, those companies that come forward will be awarded 100% funded R&D service contract. So it's a slightly different approach in the innovation space. It's very much, I'm employed by Scottish Enterprise, but I'm managing the fund on behalf of the genuine Team Scotland approach. So we have ourselves, Highlands and Islands Enterprise, the Scottish Government, and Scottish Funding Council, all part of a coordinated effort. Making joint decisions in terms of what's funded, what's not. But the whole point is it's about a coordinated and single access point for you, the public sector, to engage in innovation and gain support for that. In terms of the support we can provide, and part of this is an ongoing dialogue. We'll have a call which we'll describe in a timeline on that, but we're really keen on developing relationships with folks in the public sector who are in this space to help them to identify, shape up innovation challenges and identify most appropriate support routes. We also have a series of capability development programs that we're looking to tap folks into as well. The fund itself provides up to 100% support to the public sector, but it does it on a call basis, so it's competitive. We make no bones about that. But also the competitive element allows us to put a timeline on it to sort of stimulate action, but then it allows us to evaluate and rank the innovation challenges on the potential impact, and I'll discuss that later on. We're also, given it's ourselves, Highlands and Islands, Scottish Funding Council, as you'd imagine, we're well tapped into and actually have a national solver network, so innovative companies, universities that are all looking for opportunities to apply their technical and creative skills, and we can provide easy access to that network, maybe over and above what your usual, no disrespect to your usual supply chains, but allows you to sort of tap into a completely different skill set and maybe even mindset. From the company perspective, what we're able to offer is through this our web platform is an up-to-date repository of demand-driven innovation challenge. That basically just means real customers with real problems looking for solutions. And again, they get 100% contract R&D contract funding, so nothing to do with state aids. We can always also support folks with identifying and facilitating collaboration to bid into contracts. And as you would expect, we can provide a seamless integration into the business support. So there's a kind of dual edge to it. But obviously, in terms of yourself, it's about helping you to identify, shape up challenges, providing funding and de-risking the exercise, taking you through with a bit of support the process, and providing access to that extensive industry solver network. My machine seems to have frozen again. Apologies here. So we can get it going. Okay, it's not behaving itself. Right, apologies for that. It seems to be a wee delay. So in terms of the approach, I wanted just to touch on the procurement of innovation aspect. So I mentioned to you that we take the innovation challenges to the marketplace, and instead of the usual enterprise support for grant funding, it is a procurement exercise. Now it's a little bit unusual in terms of the standard way of procuring, so I thought it would be worth dwelling on this in terms of the process, just so you're clear, and actually show you some of the benefits of it as well. So this diagram really shows the procurement of innovation approach that we're using. In this example, it's something called pre-commercial procurement, which is basically a process that's been set up and guidelines that's been developed by the European Union, and as I'll touch on, we've got a specific process and a support element behind that, which encapsulates the pre-commercial procurement approach. But effectively what it does in this diagram is really what you're doing is identify your innovation challenge, defining it as a functional specification as you would do in any sort of design brief. You're taking it out to the marketplace, so you're promoting it as widely as you can, and you have a number of folks coming back with great and weird and wonderful ideas about how they would address your innovation challenge and propose to solve your innovation challenge. In this instance, you've then evaluated those proposals, and at that phase one, you've effectively selected 4 of the best proposals, supplier A to D, and you're funding them all to develop and test their concepts. So take their ideas, fund them all, 100% R&D contracts, service contracts, over a period of time, typically anything sort of 3 to 6 months, maybe shorter as well. We've got some small scale digital challenges that can be a bit more condensed. But the point is you're funding them all, suppliers A to D, through that process, and effectively they're competing in terms of their approach. You're then evaluating those concepts, and at that point it becomes a closed exercise. So you're then taking, in this example, the best 3 suppliers who have proven their concepts through into prototype development and testing, and from that exercise, that maybe 9 months, could be a 12 months exercise. You're then at the end of that, you're taking the best 2 forward into a demonstration facility and a field trial with the actual customer in mind there. So in terms of the process, what's giving you the public sector is the ability to really explore the solution space, take that functional spec out with your normal supply chains and really explore that of the possible. Then that phased and competitive nature ensures that you get the strongest solution through the process. Now, there's nothing to say that if you don't get the solution you're after, you can stop the process, obviously. I should add that the number of phases you can customize. We've typically been running sort of 2-phased exercise, so concept development, prototype development, testing combined. But there are projects we look at within NHS that have now got a kind of phase 3 element to it, for instance. But it is a flexible process in terms of the number of phases the scale of funding that you put in and the duration of that exercise. It's a completely flexible process that could work with you to customise to your particular needs. And after that demonstration exercise, that phase 4 is really looking at the procurement phase. Now, currently within within pre-commercial procurement, legally you need to go back out to tender, and sometimes that can be a sensible thing to do. There may be some time passed and it makes sense to check what's on the horizon, but obviously the companies that are providing you with the solution at phase 3 and demonstrating with you are in a very good position to then procure. It's probably a little bit more detail than you need, but it's just to highlight that we are looking at innovation partnerships as an additional option within the process. Sorry, my machine's snurring up here. Apologies for the delays. It seems to be a bit slow today. So that's a little bit of detail, but it's just to flag we are working with the Scottish Government on this new innovation partnerships route, which effectively ties the procurement and the R&D phase together. So just speed through in terms of a bit of background to the fund. That's the kind of key features and how it operates. Point of this slide is just to say, look, we've spent a lot of time looking at what other countries do. This is a well-established process, particularly in the States and some leading EU countries, where they are utilising the need for improved public services, improved policy delivery as a way of achieving that through innovation, but also getting a double whammy of economic development. And surprising to a lot of people is the leading proponents of this, of utilising that public sector and public sector demand to stimulate innovation, economic development, is the United States. They've got a small business investment and research, or SBIR program, that's been about since the mid-80s through successive regimes and has only increased in support. So now their federal governments are mandated to spend a certain percentage of their R&D budgets to address innovation challenges through this procurement mechanism. It is restricted in that instance to US companies, but it's pumping $2.5 billion per annum into their improving public services and also economic development. And the EU's looked at what the states are doing and for a number of years been promoting this pre-commercial procurement, and currently have over 200 million euros identified to support pan-European projects in this area. Closer to home, with the UK Small Business Research Initiative, who we are working closely and can offer their support through the fund. They've been running exercises mainly from UK government departments such as MOD, have been particularly active. So the Home Office in 2015 there, they put £75 million worth of these R&D opportunities through their SBRI scheme. And closer to home, Wales, Northern Ireland have recently created similar funds to our own. And we've learnt a lot, and there's a nice group of us working together to identify common challenges and to share knowledge and experience. So there's a good body of evidence out there that this approach works as a way of improving public services and also stimulating economic development. Just to touch on, and mainly reason just giving you a bit of background, but also just to start to highlight the types of projects that can be supported. The key thing here is to recognise the flexibility. We can touch on the criteria, but it's trying not to constrain your thinking too much. But some of these projects may stimulate some thoughts in other areas, and also if you've got particular interest in any of these projects, we can certainly have a chat with you about hooking you into the project managers and get an up-to-date view on where the project's at. So to kick off, we ran a number of pilot projects just to test the water, really, just to see how this thing worked, to see the interest in the public sector, and also just to gauge the interest in the private sector. We're on an initial one with Scottish Water and SEPA, looking at removing nasty chemicals from the water supply. We used the Small Business Research Initiative processes and support, and effectively that's just a set of experienced people, template documents which can help reduce the risk to this process if it's something that your procurement folks and commercial folks aren't familiar with. There's a tried and tested suite of processes and template documents, as I say, that's available to help you through that process. But effectively, we funded, I think, 7 winning organisations through the first phase. I think they were all 6 months projects, and topping out at 40k per project to explore concepts, and then dropping into a couple of winning solutions, which were then developed and tested with Scottish Water's infrastructure over a 12 to 18 month period. And those contracts were about 150k each. The second lot, we've been running a number of projects actually with NHS Scotland in this area. First of which was diabetes education, particularly the 15 to 24-year-old client group who are not really engaging with the traditional work-based educational programs. So this exercise was about, can we explore new innovative digital technologies as a way of improving the educational experience and customizing the educational experience to that young team. So we kicked off that exercise and funded 5 winning bids, all over 6 months, with contracts of 30k to develop their approaches. And we're now well into the final stages of the phase 2, which 2 of those companies are funded 150k each to develop and test their prototypes in NHS test beds with a view to then moving on to an implementation phase. We looked at dermatology, again, like an e-health based challenge, but it was looking at the issue that's right across the NHS is they've got a finite number of experts, consultants, and an increasing demand for services, and a real desire and need to optimise the workflow. Actually, just making sure they've got the right patients going through the process, and seeing the consultants when they need to, and optimising the 4-hour consultancy window. But a lot of it to do with having the right information about the customer in the right form at the right point in the process. And that again funded 5 companies, 30k each, over 6 months to develop their concepts, and we're now recently kicked off the phase 2. 2 of those companies are getting 150k to develop and test the prototypes. Again, cancer project, high-level data informatics project run by our innovation centres and ourselves. So looking at overall project value is about £1 million. That was right, other end of the scale in terms of the size of it, and completely opposite end of the scale in terms of small scale. The 2 organisations, Transport Scotland and SEPA, we've been running a number of really small digital-based innovation challenges using an incubation facility and support facility in the Scottish Government's Digital Directorate called CivTech. But it's effectively a pre-commercial procurement process, albeit there's an additional business support element to that. But the point in this process is that there's some innovation challenges in there. The Transport Scotland ones were about the A9 developments and a data spine that's been put in the A9. How can you use that communication infrastructure to support both a tourism and an operation and maintenance challenge? The tourism challenge is, how do you encourage folks to come off the A9 and spend some time and money at locations going up the A9? And the other challenge was round about, how do you utilise innovative sensors that happen to be accelerometers and mobile phones to pick up vibrations that can then use the data channel to inform the operation and maintenance folks of the state of the road. So 2 really nice projects that were very small scale. The CivTech Accelerator and total cost for the companies, all the companies coming through that is about 30k. It was funding 3 strongest concepts, effectively 2k each to work up their concepts, and then drop into a winning solution which would give them 26k over 3 months to develop a minimum viable product. So again, total other end of the scale in terms of the small scale digital fast development process, 3 months process. But the point is that the fund and the process is really flexible in terms of the technology area, the duration of the project, and the scale of funding. And there is guidance that we have within the fund online documentation which can give you sort of typical values. We're kind of working on a rough and ready reckoner just now about maybe 10k projects for digital challenges over a 3-month period, and all, like, no disrespect to the stuff's coming out of the Civtec model, but we're finding maybe that's, with our colleagues in Northern Ireland, there's maybe a lower end about that, where you're going to have a fighting chance of getting a prototype that could then be implemented. There's no likelihood that the further end of the scale, there's maybe still a little bit of development that's required. And as I say, it can typically, we've been running the sort of 30k 6-month projects with SBRI, but equally, they're starting to run projects up to sort of 50k phase 1 and up to 200k phase 2 for each winning bid. So there's a wide variety of approach there, and a really flexible tool to address your innovation challenges. So in terms of the fund process, then hopefully you have or through further dialogue with ourselves, identify some innovation challenges that meet our criteria, and be encouraged to submit an expression of interest. We've deliberately made the form really easy. It should take very little time. Once you've identified a challenge in mind, it shouldn't take too long at all to shape it up. There's still about a month to go, so there's plenty of opportunity to do so. But in terms of the call, so we've got a call deadline coming up, 15th of June, where you need to submit your expression of interest in. We will then evaluate those expressions of interest. We will then score them against a set of criteria, which is in the guidance document, which I'll touch on towards the end of the last slides. But it's effectively looking at the impact on you, the public sector, in terms of the innovation challenge. If we solve it, how is it going to improve your service delivery? How is it going to reduce the cost of your service delivery? How is it going to improve the ability to implement policy? How is it going to improve the life of the Scottish citizen? But also, what's the economic impact opportunity for companies who can deliver the solution? So there needs to be a thought on, is this a solution? Is this a challenge that you just have? And if so, it's there's not a market elsewhere for it. Because what we're looking to do is to be able to allow a company to develop a solution for you, but then use that as a trial site, a test site and a reference site to then sell elsewhere. So that's the two sort of elements that are factoring into the key components of the criteria when we're evaluating them. So we get them in, we evaluate them, and we rank them. It's not an exact science, but it's a rigorous and independent assessment from a technical, a market, and a policy perspective. Then score the innovation challenges, and the ones at the top that look as if they're of most value potentially. We'll support them through this procurement of innovation route. It may well be we go down the SBRI process. If it's of interest, the next cohort of our Civtec colleagues could be a potential route there too. And then we'll work with you to look to implement the solution and provide the business support post R&D phase. But it's worth highlighting that there are alternative support areas as well. So if something doesn't quite meet the threshold in terms of going down this route, we would look to other routes to help you. It may well be actually that there's existing companies and there's not a need for innovation, that we can hook you into existing solutions there that could support you. Or it may well be that we could tap you into some R&D support through ourselves, Highlands and Islands, or perhaps Scottish Funding Council if it was meeting their criteria. But we will work with you in terms of identifying if the challenge doesn't meet the threshold, where an alternative support route might be. So just to update you on where we are with the funds, I see we're early stages. We really just launched the fund last November there. In our first call, we funded 5 projects. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but just wanted to paint a kind of high-level picture, again, just to show you the range of organisations and challenges that we've been supporting. So the first one we kicked off was looking at smart EV, electrical vehicle charging, with the City of Edinburgh Council. It's looking at particularly the control aspect. So can you predict and identify demand for electrical vehicle charging? Can you predict when and understand when energy prices might be at a premium if you are generating energy? So when do you charge? When do you produce electricity into the grid? To look at a sort of low carbon element to this as well. So potentially solar panels with battery storage, with a charging infrastructure, and with a smart control system. And how do you play the market and optimise the sustainability of the solution, particularly from a cost perspective. Big driver in the councils to roll this out, and it's not listing anyone that there's real financial constraints within council, so it's really looking at exploring the technology solutions for that. So we've actually just awarded the contracts to 4 companies who are going to be developing their concepts over 6 months to address that particular challenge. Next off the Botswood South Ayrshire Council, and they're looking at, fixed CCTV cameras are costly, and they're fixed, and trouble spots and incident areas and areas they want CCTV cameras is a fluid thing. So the challenge there is, can we get something that's flexible, self-powered, that can be easily deployed, ideally one person, to allow South Ayrshire councils and other councils who are aligned round about this now to get a more effective solution to their CCTV needs. So we've just in the process actually contracting now with 5 organisations who've got some really interesting ideas in that space. Scottish Water, we're just about to the end of this week actually select 5 companies to address their challenge of providing cost-effective and distributed water treatment, particularly taking organic solids out of the water supply, and particularly relevant to rural applications, and particularly Northwest Highland region where you've got sort of peaty waters as well. But it's a challenge that, like all of these, is seen elsewhere as well. Obviously, if we solve it here in Scotland, we've got a UK water supply, an EU water supply, and this is an international problem of providing cost-effective, safe, clean drinking water for people in a distributed manner. In the Central Belt, in particular, in large areas, you've got well-developed infrastructure, but as you move out to rural areas, then it becomes more challenging from a financial perspective. Next up, with technology-enabled care, is the Glasgow City-based project that's basically looking at a couple of things there. Really, it's looking at protecting some of the most vulnerable folks, citizens of Glasgow, who require, for various reasons, nighttime care, so physical care, and people being in their homes effectively, watching over them. Now, it's not great for anybody, that type of service, but looking at, can you provide I suppose a monitoring system, and from a technology point of view, which in a safe manner can be less intrusive, but can alert you to when there may be issues that then need intervention. And it's also dealing with the fact that we're switching from analog to digital communication infrastructure, so all the current alarm infrastructure that's set up on the analog line, so it's looking at the opportunities that digital technology can provide in there as well. And yeah, pretty niche one, surgical instrument cleaning. I'm not going to get too many details for case of time, and also some folks may still be having their lunch as well, so we'll kind of skirt over that, other than saying there's a kind of environmental and an efficiency point of view, and that a need for improvement in that process. And in a couple of weeks we'll be winding that to a close and selecting companies to address that challenge as well. So a key thing for all of them, though, is they've got, in terms of challenges, they've got big impacts on the organisation, big potential impacts on citizens and public sector service delivery, but they all have significant international opportunities for companies. Their challenges don't need that international dimension, but the scale of the market opportunity is obviously something we're very, very keen on. So that's a sort of common theme for the initial challenges. And again, I'm not going to go into too much detail here because we're not actually signed contracts here, and that's why the company names aren't on it. But a range of, so from the second call, we've got 8 challenges going forward. One of the data there, looking at clever ways to aggregate and develop content online for an advisory support service. One there that's aimed at a particular as a local authority there, looking at the issues of homeless accommodation currently provided by bed and breakfast, and looking at ways in which you can provide that in a more satisfactory way for homeless folks, and a cost-effective way, and something that could be mobile, that could use spare land that may be subject to further development, and could be the above works and below works infrastructure and accommodation could be flexible and mobile. You've got one there looking at some nasty wee pine weevils that seem to be destroying a lot of our forestry there. So looking at biological control or or capture systems. We've got one there with NHS that's looking at the perennial problem of, I'm sure everybody's experienced it, whether it's a wheelchair or a crutch or some piece of medical equipment that seems fine or could be reused and the infrastructure's not set up to do that. So that's a nice wee data project looking at a system that then allows that to be done. We've one looking at tram driver monitoring alerts and health conditions. One that's looking at a kind of national outdoor site and how can you improve the visitor experience using innovative technology and link that back into the school education system. And we've got one that's looking at smart low carbon energy systems for public buildings. A lot of talk about that area, but not much action on the ground. And latterly we've got one that's looking at the challenges that a lot of folks face in navigating the public transport infrastructure if they have particular ailments or limitations, and about pulling together the transport information system, real-time information system that allows folks that have particular issues, be it physical or mental disability or whatever, to navigate the system. Again, all of them there have impacts on the public purse, impacts on that organisation, but also allow opportunities for companies to develop product and then sell product on elsewhere. So I'm going to conclude now, just a quick canter through the fund, its key features, how it operates. And again, I wanted just to labour a little bit on the types of projects that we've funded, just to give you some ideas. And again, you may be interested in some of the projects. We can certainly bring you up to speed if anybody wants further details. But it's just to conclude with just saying, well, we have a next call which is open, and the deadline's 15th of June. So genuinely, there is still time, almost a month there to identify, come back and talk to us, to help to shape it up, but to develop an expression of interest form. Again, key criteria there's obviously got to be a need for innovation. It's an innovation fund that's effectively procuring R&D services. So if there's an existing product out in the marketplace that you're aware of, then it's not suitable for the fund. So key thing for us is to make sure you've thought about this and to have a look to scan your networks. We can help with this as well, but we're looking for a good body evidence that there's a need for innovation. Part of that we can get through the due diligence process, but if you've actually undertaken a bit of landscaping, a bit of market testing, and that's to your advantage as well. You need to front the PM resource. I mean, we will provide you, the public sector, with up to 100% funding. We will support you through a delivery team, so ourselves, Innovate UK, we will work with you hand in hand to help you through the process, but you need to lead it. And that's not an insignificant resource. You need to identify the project management expertise and actually, we'll support you, but ultimately you will be doing the procurement with the assistance from, if you're up for it, the Innovate UK SPRI process, tried and tested in terms of reduced risk. The funding reduces the risk obviously as well, and part of that is there's a couple of reasons here. We're keen to transfer knowledge and capability into your organisations, but ultimately this is about implementation and procurement, about seeing benefits. There's too many examples of these exercises where they've got through the R&D and demonstration phase, and then there's been issues about implementation and procurement. So that you leading the project, you being focused on that route to implementation and procurement, convincing us that there is an intent to implement and procure directly through yourself or through third parties is important. And that's a real reason for you leading the process and getting your internal folks on board early on as well, as I say. But that will be with support, but it's just not to be under any illusions that we're just giving you money and going to do it for you. We're facilitating the exercise. And again, the key evaluation criteria when we're considering the challenges is the impact on the public purse, the public service, and also that economic development argument there. So that's about convincing us that there's a market out with yourselves, and there's a potential for companies to exploit that. All the fund guidance application forms on the website. We hope it's fairly self-explanatory to take you through that. It's a simple form, with hopefully a clear guidance that can help you to assist it. The key takeaway here is to come back to us. We're really happy. It's a competitive process. There's an independent technical expertise that goes through that, but it's in everybody's interest, you know, to help you to identify relevant challenges and to have a chat through that. So between now and the 15th of June, we are more than happy and would encourage you actually to run things past us. It may well be that there's opportunity for you know, collaboration within folks as well in terms of looking at similar areas too. So yeah, so that's basically an overview of the fund. I would encourage you to consider it. If you have key issues that you're wrestling with that you know would benefit from someone external, a company looking at, and that require innovation. If you can hit this deadline, great. There will be another call, likely to be roughly sort of 6 months' time from that one in terms of the closing date. But yeah, I mean, we can also, where appropriate, come out, speak to you, understand your teams, because we're really, you know, the first couple of calls have been a bit sort of reactive, if I'm being honest. We've kind of put the information out there, but going forward, what we want to do is work closer with organisations, develop relationships with you, allow you to better understand the fund and support that's there to then allow you to be developing, you know, a pipeline of challenges that we can support you through the fund, or we can identify other routes to help you on your innovation and improvement journeys. So I'm going to stop there. That's pretty much all I really wanted to say to that. But key takeaways, please get in touch if you think it's of interest.
Thank you very much.
That's me, Emily.
Thank you. Just a reminder for everyone, if you'd like to ask a question, to use the grey box, which should be on the right-hand side of your screen. We're just waiting for some questions to come through. I think we've got one. So competition 1, or stage 1, I'm not really sure, it is for PS applicant to win funding. 2 is to run a tender. How long does each take?
Okay, so in terms of the actual process is quite flexible. So if I'm right in saying, Emily, I think it's looking at the actual, once we fund, what's the sort of timescales of the process? Would that be
I don't know if
an accurate
whoever
summary?
that maybe wants to clarify.
Okay, well, I'll assume that is the case, and maybe the person, if I'm not understanding it correctly, can correct me. But if you're asking the question of, you know, how long the process takes, so if we, you know, and sorry, to answer if it's about the evaluation process, that's kind of all on the documentation too. Is a very strict timeline of expression of interest, full application, whatnot. It's typically about sort of 2-3 months to get through the whole stage. But once we're out of the evaluation and we're selecting the projects, it's a bit flexible, really. As I say, we've typically been running up till now. The vast majority of the projects have been sort of roughly 20-30k each for, you know, 3 to 5 winning companies to develop their concepts through a phase 1 of about sort of up to 6 months. The phase 2 would then be sort of 12 to 18 months. But we are aware, and again, the exception to that is the small scale digital challenges. We have just funded 2 challenges to go through the CivTech model, which is you know, a 2-week phase 1 and a 3-month phase 2 project to get to a prototype. But we're very keen to look at, you know, a number of smaller scale digital challenges, but we think there may be an interesting sweet spot from our chat with our Northern Ireland colleagues, looking at, you know, 3-month phase 1 projects of maybe 3 to 5 organisations winning 10 to 15k phase 1 contracts, and you're maybe into a sort of phase 2, 50k to 60 to 9 months. So it's of that order, and we give some guidance and typical values that we've ran. It's not an exact science, in all honesty, and we're completely flexible if folks have so I think between that CivTech 3 months, 30k through phase 1 and 2, to the ones we've been running, say, typically been you know, 6 months, 150k phase 1, 3 30k projects with five winners, up to, as I mentioned, there's been colleagues in Innovate UK have run you know, 50k phase 1 each, you know, so you're talking 250k phase 1 projects, and then into phase 2, 12 to 18 months. So, but there's it's kind of horses for courses depending on the challenge. That's part of the evaluation process, is to help you take a stab at that. But through it, we'll fine tune and work with you to help to to optimise that, make sure that you got a process in terms of timescales and funding support that suits your needs.
Thank you very much, Terry. I had another question. They were saying, is there a limit on the amount of funding that can be awarded to each challenge?
Yes, there is. In practical sense, from the fund perspective, as I say, we've typically in the phase ones we're running about sort of 150k. We haven't put a ceiling on it, and the reason for that is that we're open to the idea that if someone's out there that's got a particularly valuable challenge, which is over and above what we can what we're earmarking for individual projects, then there is the prospect. I'm not saying we've got a means to do it, but we'd like to be able to take that argument back to the fund partners to see if there's a way of doing it. So we've thought long and hard about this, about having a ceiling, and we thought, right, we've not got a ceiling, but we've got an indication of, well, typically we probably wouldn't be looking in a normal circumstance to provide funding for phase one over sort of 200k unless there was a good reason to do it. Otherwise, we're kind of going to consume the budget in too few projects. But what we would do is, if there's projects out there that for whatever reason are needing more funding and there's a good case for it, we'd certainly like to enter into a dialogue with folks. But folks think about, typically the sort of 30k 5 projects is probably about the sort of upper level that we've been working so far, and then we're down to the sort of the 30k CivTech route.
Thank you. I've got another message here saying, so you fund CivTech challenges. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we started the fund. So we've been in dialogue with our CivTech colleagues, and Scottish Government and CivTech are part of the Team Scotland approach. But I suppose we kicked off at similar times, and I've been working more closely together. So the timings of our efforts weren't ideal, if I'm being honest, in terms of the calls for public sector to engage. We've now aligned those, so we now have the CivTech team integrated into the process. So as folks will see in the expression of interest form, if your challenges of a digital nature and you're quite interested in the accelerator approach, the collaborative development, I should add the other advantage to the CivTech route is that they take a bunch of challenge sponsors, 10 to 12 through the process at the one time. So it's quite a nice opportunity to share knowledge and contacts and develop relationships between all those challenge sponsors and challenge solvers. But we basically integrate them in the process. So they will now be, so any digital challenge, they will be then one source of expertise into the process, and they're technical experts to help us to assess the digital challenges. If the challenge sponsor is interested in the CivTech process, they indicate that on the application form. If it meets the fund criteria and the fund management team decide to approve it, then it's pretty much up to the challenge sponsor. If they still are keen on pursuing the CivTech route, then we're more than happy to support the costs of that.
Thanks, Terry. There's something about the slides. So just to let you all know that the slides will be made available, I'll send a follow-up email, and the recording will be put on the IS Improvement Service YouTube channel later on. But I'll send an email around to everyone, so you've got that. And just to let you know, you'll see a few questions at the end of the webinar, so it would be greatly appreciated if you could fill out the short survey. Thank you. I think that's all the questions we've got for now, Terry.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you maybe want to add something just before we finish off.
Just really to thank everyone for their time today. Really appreciate it, and also to yourself, Emily and Joanna, for setting this up. But really just to stress, look, please get in touch with us if you think the fund's of interest, and again, appreciate it's just very quick chat through something that's a little bit out of the ordinary in terms of how it works. So more than happy just to chat through it in a bit more detail, chat through ideas, or if you think there's an opportunity to come out and speak to a wider team for this call, or indeed any time in the future, just please drop us a note at the contact information there.
Thank you very much, and thanks to everyone who decided to join us today.
Okay, thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.